the points where the graph y equal to p of x intersects the x-axis. Okay, that is the zeros of the polynomial or the x-coordinates of the points where the graph of the polynomial intersects at x-axis. That is, the graph of the polynomial will intersect at x-axis. Next, that is x equal to a is a zero polynomial p of x if y equal to p of a intersects at x-axis. That is what we can conclude. If a graph of a polynomial intersects at x-axis, then that point is zero of the polynomial. Okay. That is, if y equal to p of a intersect at x-axis, then x equal to a is the zero of the polynomial. That is, if graph intersect at 1, then x equal to 1 is the zero of polynomial. If p of x is polynomial of degree n, that it intersect x-axis at most endpoints. If polynomial is of n degree n, then it can intersect at most endpoints in the graph. So, let us see one example. Look at the graphs given below. Each is the graph of y equal to p of x, where p of x is a polynomial. For each of the graph, find number of zeros of p of x. Okay, how to find number of zeros of p of x? That is, at first we have to note where number of points at which the graph is intersecting at x-axis, then the polynomial will have that much zeros. Okay, here the graph is intersecting at only one point, so this will have only 1 0. That is, this polynomial will only have 1 0. Okay, that is, this polynomial will only have 1 0 since the graph is intersecting at only one point in x-axis. Okay, here we have two intersection at x-axis, that is here and here. So the polynomial will have so the polynomial will have two zeros. Here the graph is intersecting at 3 points, that is 1, 2 and 3. So polynomial the polynomial must have 3 zeros. Here, what about here? Here only 1 point, so the polynomial will have 1 0. Here only 1 point, so 1 0. Here 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is, graph is intersect 4 points here with x-axis. Then it must have 4 zeros. That is, polynomial must have 4 zeros here. So the next problem, it's an exercise. The graph of y equal to p of x are given below for some polynomial p of x. Find the number of zeros of p of x in each case. So this is the graph. So we have to find the number of zeros of the polynomial. Okay. So at first look at this graph. Here the graph, that is this line, the graph of the polynomial is not intersecting at x-axis. So number of zeros is here 0. No zeros because the graph is not intersecting at x-axis. Okay. Here the graph is intersecting at 1 point. So number of zeros is 1. 1 0 because the graph is intersecting x-axis at only 1 point. Here we have 1, 2, 3 points. So here we have 3 zeros at the third graph. 3 zeros because graph is intersecting x-axis at 3 points. Here only 2, that is 1, 2. So 2 zeros. Graph is intersecting at 2 points. Here 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 zeros in the fifth graph because graph is intersecting x-axis at only 4 points. Okay. Here 1, 2, 3. That is 3 zeros because graph is intersecting x-axis at 3 points. So we get our answer here. That is, at first we have to look at the graph and where the graph is, the number of points that the graph is intersecting at x-axis, then that polynomial will have that much zeros. Okay.